Deep Dive Fridays! Yay! Ashley's back with me for another deep dive.
You know it.
And we got a real, kind of a personal deep dive today.
Yeah. Pretty personal on this one.
Yeah, it's pretty personal. I think a lot of you know I lost my lovely mother. I lost my mother and very recently.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very odd series of like, you know how everybody's had a couple of these, right? So she definitely would have had a couple of those, likely a booster.
Yep.
And I'm not saying, and nobody's said that that's the reason.
No.
Okay. But ever since then, everything that was an issue amplified, which is something that a lot of people are noticing with these products, as Jean-Claude likes to call them, products.
Good.
Okay, so it's so hard to find the words that we can use here. So we'll say those products that they've been pushing on everybody to put in their arms.
Yes.
Anyway, so a series of unfortunate events and everything that could go wrong with something that started out minor, we'll just say it like that, turned into a big, disaster.
Yeah.
And leaving of Earth plane. Now, my personal opinion about people leaving the Earth plane, I'm just going to say, like at one point, I can be really detached because I know in my heart spiritually. I've looked at this my whole life and I just know in my heart. My sister left in 2012 and she feels closer. Like I've never felt closer to my sister. And I feel actually really close to my mom.
That's fabulous.
I just feel their souls dissipate into everythingness and you have them everywhere. You just have to think about them and there they are. So a lot of people don't have that ability, I understand. And that takes work. It takes work to get to that place. And it doesn't mean you don't love them. You absolutely do.
Oh, yeah.
And of course we miss them physically. Of course we do.
Oh, 100%.
But you can feel them if you just open up to it. And I actually feel really close to my mother.
That's great.
I do. So we're not saying that it was a direct result of those products, but it is suspicious. And a lot of people are going to be experiencing family members. And if they're elder, it's always going to be questionable. Did they leave? Because we know what the dark ones have been doing and what their plan was. And then, of course, there's been a whole lot of other people, not just the elderly, leaving very suspiciously or even more suspiciously. Obviously, when you're in your 80s, could have been anything. Like, you can't. Nobody's going to blame it on that. Yeah. Because even if you know in your heart it would have been that, you're not going to win that one. That argument with your rest of your family members. But didn't you have somebody quite young very recently?
Yeah, I lost one of my cousins in December. It was very unexpected, and of course she had the product, which I'm definitely not blaming because she had other health issues, of course.
Yep.
And one of them happened to be exasperated at a very inconvenient time, which was very not normal to her lifestyle. So it was very suspicious. And of course it hit very home, and she was quite young. She was she was going to be 41.
Yeah.
Which is still quite young for a passing, right? If you all think about it, right? It's still a little too young.
So a lot of people are saying that this is the beginning of a whole series of maybe years where people leave here en masse. Now, whenever I look at it, I never get as many. I'll just repeat this. Yeah. Just so you know my intuitive thoughts on it. I've done many readings on that because I know the stories and they're like, literally, we're going to lose thousands of that, millions.
Somebody said about half, which was a lot.
Yeah.
That seems a lot.
Like read the guidestones, Georgia guidestones, look those up and read them. That's really what this whole thing's really, that laid out the whole plan a long time ago. They dropped that in a field a long time ago for the humans because, we know that karmically, they know they need to have a version of disclosure. Right. So, this is how they get away with it. They think they do, I guess. Think they can get away with their plans.
Plans.
Okay. Well, we told everybody, we put those Georgia guidestones out there. So we told everybody what was coming. Okay. And we put it in movies. We put it in songs. We put it everywhere, right? On the news. It's really been spelled out, really. And if anybody's doing their homework, they would know even 20 years ago, you can see obvious plans for a huge them trying to take out a lot of people.
Huge event.
What we wanted to kind of look at tonight was, because we're all facing losing family members.
Mm-hmm. And grief is never easy.
Yeah. And under possibly suspicious, that could related to this product. And what was our first question?
Definitely advice on how to handle our relatives leaving the earth plane, right? Mm-hmm. Just any type of
more
guidance.
Than usual, too.
Yeah.
We're going to see more than usual.
And this is going to be a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I still know lots of people who haven't lost anybody in their lives, right? I've been grieved my whole life. I've lost multiple people throughout my life, so I'm used to it. Mm-hmm. But there's lots of people that aren't, so that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Is there anything we're supposed to be learning from this mass experience, right? Because we're all going
it's a huge human, right? The whole world's experiencing a similar thing. And in particular, people that are awake, we're watching this. Like other people, they're just assuming, they're having a bad run.
Yeah.
Right? They're having a bad year. All these people are leaving. That's what they're going to assume. We know those sheep are going to assume that unless something comes out real soon and wakes those people up. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at people that'll make all kinds of excuses. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to look at a little bit of channeling though. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask Ashley if my mother has anything she wants to tell our audience, because we know she's in the great afterworld universal love energy.
The next step.
Yeah, there was an eagle hovering over her as she was leaving us.
Right.
Yeah, and hours before her leaving is when I first saw the eagle, and it was literally hovering over her. Mm-hmm. And then, didn't you want me to?
Yeah,
maybe look
and
into,
since we're looking at Mom, maybe we could look at my cousin and see what her opinion is on this experience.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and if she's got any advice for anybody going forward.
Mm-hmm. So we'll start with the mass leaving. Mm-hmm. What does the universe want to tell us about that?
Okay.
This time that we're experiencing that, is there a purpose for that we should know more about? Mm-hmm. Like we have a lot of theories. I have a lot of theories about that, but let's just ask what the universe wants to tell who's ever's watching here. Wow.
Right.
Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So we've got this is my dark cult card, especially when we're asking a question that could potentially be about that.
Yeah,
right?
Is related to the situation.
These times we know that there's a big cleanup going on, and that's what this looks like.
Right?
It's their time to end.
This time is ending.
The universe says their time's up. Time's up for those guys, and that we've gone a long way to really ensuring that their time's up because there's a victory card. So that's actually really good. It's news.
Great.
Okay.
Really good.
And then this Page of Pentacles. So that's in the past that brought us here. So that's a children card.
Yeah.
That's a young people's 12 and under card.
Yep.
Okay. So really it's like the universe pointing back to, this is the things that have been going on that these guys are responsible for are largely done against youth and children and, young people.
Right.
And all the way to, infants. Mm. Yeah. So that's literally horrifying. So I feel like the spirit world's like, enough. We're done with that. So that's why we had to do this. This is a drastic thing happening, but they're taking drastic measures because a drastic thing is happening.
For sure.
Yeah. And then look at that outcome card. She's all about the boundaries.
She's all about boundaries.
So we've been talking a lot about boundaries. Boundaries, the lack of, believe it or not, got us here.
Oh, for sure.
Allowing everybody to take our power.
Yes.
And not all of us, of course, but generally as a human race, we really did just keep giving away our power. Think about even 150 years ago in London, England.
Right.
Right. So there's watch Downton Abbey. Right. Nobody could get out of their place. You were born in a certain place and that's where you were for your whole life.
Right. It took a lot to change class levels. Oh my God.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
Right. So things like that just won't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And it feels like time to stop those kind of things. We're getting more Aquarian. We're getting more everybody's on equal standing.
Yeah.
Unless they prove that they are a despicable human. Right. So here we've got, so boundaries to keep our own things to ourselves. So not giving away our powers.
Not giving away our powers.
So that guy's holding on to things that are
keeping things close to you instead of just giving full trust away.
Yeah. Like we don't even own property we buy because we pay taxes on it. We actually don't own it.
Nope.
So we don't own anything really.
Nope.
It's like sneakily made it. So we're like, really, we don't own anything.
Yep.
So we got to change all of that, you guys. We have equal rights to be part of this world as supposed elites and or people that have been considering themselves to be, certain families on the earth plane that like to think they own everything. Right? You guys know what we're talking about. We're talking about the dark cult families. Okay, so we're going to heal that. We're going to heal what we've been, how we've been just giving away our power.
Right, taking it back.
Better
boundaries. And making it our own. Let's see if all these souls did agree to this experience, right? Is it written in?
Yep.
Because this is what we have known from the beginning is that we write in certain events that we must experience as humans.
Yep.
So let's see if this is written in or if this is not written in.
Or was this snuck up on us?
Right.
Okay. So, was this known like as part of the what was going to come no matter what? Or was this something they sort of snuck up on us here? Right away, Ashley noticed we got the magician here.
Right.
So kind of a 50-50 with
50-50.
Yeah, he's tricky.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think they knew it. Like, I don't think it was written exactly how it was going to go down. But what I think was known was that the time for that group of people we've been calling the dark cult to end their reign, that part, they were bumping into the end of they karmically couldn't go on doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
But it looks like it was a matter of how exactly would that happen and look? How would the humans help manifest that for themselves? How fast were we going to do it? All of that felt like that's still a work in progress.
Right.
So we're a big part of this. We're a big part of moving past this.
And we also have to remember not everything is written. Not everything is set in stone. There's so many different timelines we can take.
Yeah.
So it was written in, but they weren't sure how it was going to go down.
Yeah. We still had a lot of leeway to play.
There was a lot of play there.
How much do we want to suffer? How much do we want to not suffer? How fast do we want it to go? And that's why various different psychics, mediums, channelers are getting various different stories. And they could all be right. They're getting the potential timelines that we may or may not choose as we go.
Depending on the mass collective, what cities we're in, what areas we're in. So that's why I was like, oh, okay.
With that ace, so that's a big yes. So it was known, but exactly how. But also I feel like powers that be, so universal knowing, channeled to a certain group. So this is my Mr. T in the White Hats and or the Alliance.
Yep.
So far more in depth. I mean, it sounds sort of silly and childish to say it's Mr. T and the White Hats, but let me get clear what I really mean by that. There's off-worlder intelligence there.
Yep.
There's even our past or our future selves helping with that. There could be quantum computers or one in particular. There's the bending of time knowledge. There's all this knowledge that we still don't know exists, but it exists. Time traveling knowledge, that kind of thing. So that's all going on in the background. So a group of people and off-worlders, potentially galactic helpers. There's all kinds of ways you could talk about it. But essences that aren't maybe directly humans like you and I, exactly, maybe from this time frame. Okay, those entities and energies got together. And I think they were even called together. And they're working together in the background with us, though. But we have a big part of it. We're a big part of it.
Yeah, we are. And our souls have our higher selves have agreements, and they have access to information that even we don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we could even be working, like when we go to sleep.
100%.
We could be warrioring off planet.
100%.
Like we've discovered all of these things.
Right.
It's just incredible, right? We could be living some other lifetimes at once.
Right.
Wow. I think we got enough on why it's happening in a way. It looks like it's for our personal growth. It was meant to. We bumped into when it's time these guys got off the planet. It's just a matter of how quick are we going to learn this and understand why and be a big part of getting them off, getting them out of here. So we had to take part in the ritual of cleaning up our planet and also waking up to our own personal powers.
Yes.
So that seems fairly straightforward to me. I don't know. write in the comments what you think about that. Let's skip to channeling for the viewers from these two beautiful energies that have passed on.
Sounds great.
Do you want to start with your cousin?
Sure.
Yeah, let's start with. Okay, so you think of this is what I'd do if I was in a reading. I'd ask my querent, so the person I'm reading, think about what they look like.
Okay.
And I would often ask, what's their birth date, or say their name. And that's only so they will grasp onto the person's energy.
Yep.
It's not because I'm actually doing astrology with it. I'm actually just asking them to focus in on that person.
Yep.
Okay, so if they don't know the birth sign, I would say, well, focus on what they look like or their name. Sometimes I'd say that. They just have to think of their name, and then now they're calling that essence. So then I channel that they're calling. That's just how I get everybody to focus.
Yeah.
So do you want to just think about what they look like?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So this was very hard. The circumstances surrounding the leaving looks really difficult when you look at these cards.
Yeah.
And there could have been some in their past substance abuse. Yep. And living in a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yep.
Living in a lot of fear and maybe some self-loathing.
Well, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of us have, right?
Yeah, of course, right?
Yeah, but them leaving wasn't expected in any way, so they didn't have any kind of heads up about it.
I don't think anybody did.
Any kinds of heads up. And when they're talking about what's going on in the world today, they were very much avoiding, it looks like to me, what was going on. So they didn't want to really know about it.
Didn't want to get into it.
They didn't want to get into
That's
it. They didn't
fair.
want to see it, it feels like. So they were in avoidance. That's what they're telling us. And this is them telling us that.
Yeah.
Right. So they're divulging this. That's why we can talk about it, because they could tell us, shut this down, and we would. But when you channel, you get told if you can talk or not. And we're talking.
What they want you to say.
Yeah. So they were very much in fear, and things were very hard. They weren't understanding the world at the time they left. So they weren't, I wouldn't call them red pilled, if you don't mind me saying.
She wasn't super red pilled. She was aware. She knew.
Something was funny.
Yeah.
But maybe spend some time avoiding things.
Of course.
Because sometimes we could slip into abusing substances to avoid, dealing with reality.
Yeah, which a lot of people have been doing.
Yeah. Now, with that 6, though, I feel like since they've left, which, by the way, them leaving was quite a shock.
I could see that.
Like, it looks like it was shocking, frankly.
Yeah.
And it had a lot to do with they were really imbalanced. Something got really imbalanced in their system.
Okay.
Yeah. And so things got really imbalanced, and it created a disaster. I think a human mechanism, like our physical body self, is really delicate when you really think about it. When I watched what was happening with my mother, it's so delicate. Like when one thing goes wrong, and then this thing isn't functioning, and then that thing goes, and then, okay, this thing doesn't do what it should kick in, but it didn't. And oh my goodness, so many things could go wrong. It's a miracle we even get through as much as we do.
Right.
Honestly, it's just literally miraculous. But this person had a lot of imbalances, and things just got really unhinged, really.
Right.
Yeah. They're feeling in a much better place, though. And they're also telling us that we're moving out of troubled waters.
Moving into a much better place.
Yeah.
So the advice with the Lovers in the Tower for us could definitely be keeping balance.
Keeping balance. Good one. Because things are going to get ugly, but then we're moving out of the storm.
Paying attention to your body, especially because it's so delicate, right?
Yeah.
What we're eating, what we're drinking, our stress levels, personal time.
Was your cousin a mother?
No.
No.
To kitties?
Oh, sweet. I feel like they're planning. So they're giving us this really interesting. They're planning on coming back and becoming a mother, because it was something that they were missing.
Oh.
They want to experience motherhood. So they're already planning another lifetime.
I love it. Good.
Yeah, so that is interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. But as far as the world situation, I think you're right. I think they're saying we need to stay really balanced. But I also get things are going to get a little crazy.
Yeah.
We know that's coming. But we're going to ride it out, and things will get way better after the crazy.
Right.
I know it's been crazy, but it's going to get even crazier. we know it's going to get crazier. And then we'll ride out of it, and it'll get a lot better after that crazy. Wow. Thank you. Thank you to your cousin.
Thank you, cousin.
Beautiful. Okay, let's ask about the bird. Okay. Let's ask, was the eagle there to collect my mother's soul, or was that a totem animal of hers and she became the raven? Was that my sister, the eagle? Was that my sister? Because my sister also considered an eagle totem, and she'd passed on. She might have been waiting. So just what was the eagle that I saw? What was that all about?
Okay.
See if she wants to tell us.
All right. So we have our 10 of Pentacles, the Ace of Wands. So it was definitely family member. And in the past, we have our 2 of Cups. Definitely your sister.
Somebody she loved.
Loved it. And your sister usually showed up as Queen of Pentacles.
She did.
So it's always nice to have somebody come and greet us on our way out, which is great. It's a good sign that you're on the right direction.
Yeah.
And then we have our Wheel of Fortune with our 6. No, that's our 7. And our Knight of Wands. Wheel of Fortune. So that happened really quick for Mom. And then with the 7 and this Knight, that's interesting.
That could be my brother, because he was her youngest, and he's a Leo.
Oh, okay.
And he's unfortunately also experiencing a lot of health issues, and unfortunately could be related to things we were talking about.
This is true, right?
You know, but that's just my opinion.
Because this is a little bit of
his opinion, right?
Little bit of a struggle, little bit of a victory, and then of course our Knight card, right? So I was like, interesting.
I wonder if she thought she could help him from the other side more, or
Probably.
be of more help.
A little bit of advice, maybe.
Yeah.
Now that she's over there.
Yeah.
Right. We get different help from our ancestors.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah. It almost feels to me like she thought she could help from the other side there.
It almost feels also with this double wand on the left hand side. This could be a family totem.
Ooh, eagle.
Right.
Oh, exciting!
No big deal. Right.
I love it.
Cool.
Okay. Wow.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eagle.
Let's see if she wants to give our viewing audience anything, and we'll know if she doesn't. We'll respect that, but let's just see.
Okay.
Would she like to say anything in parting about our world situation? Just now that she's on the other side and knows everything.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the Lovers again. So that's interesting with the balance.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That came up again. And the Fool. And the Knight of Pentacles in between. So definitely keeping balance. But this has to do with, definitely with the Knight of Pentacles, I'm getting like your body. Like taking more care of your body. Which is interesting. So this could be with like cleanses and food and exercise. Right?
He's kind of... he's kind of careful.
Right, he's careful. He traipses through and does his duties, right? And we have this King of Wands in the past. That's pretty interesting, eh?
You think she might be given a nod to that there really is a group, like the Alliance or something?
Or like a different type of afterlife. Because we know Mom wasn't super spiritual. She's more religious.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Wow.
So definitely with the spiritual nod.
Whoa.
Right? It's kind of nice.
So she sees things maybe a little differently.
Definitely.
Than
what she was.
Here.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you think this is saying down here?
Well, of course, the 7 is a lot. There's a lot for advice going forward. And then our King of Cups with the 8, that definitely seems to really pay attention to what you're saying, what you're hearing, what's going on. Be discerning, strategic, and try not to get too down. That's definitely, because if you get too... Right. And I know it's really hard. It's not the easiest to monitor our emotions. But if we're getting too in our feels, it definitely doesn't look like it's going to be good. Right? And we talked the last one about our emotions. Right? And it is really hard to pull ourselves out of a slump. I know. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get in a slump and you're like, okay, what's going to pull me out of this? Funny movies, good food, going for a walk, watching funny animal videos is my big one. Yeah. Right?
I like to call up Ashley and just do a fun adventure day with Ashley when I'm getting too bummed out.
Right.
And you know what's interesting, Ashley? My mom had Libra, I believe, in her moon.
Oh, okay.
She was a Taurus cusp Aries sun, but moon in Libra. So likely born on a full moon. And she was very balanced. She lived a very balanced life. Like she never overate or underate. She was always really good at, she gave herself treats, but didn't just live for treats. She ate really healthy, generally speaking. Like she was a very balanced woman, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. And so that makes sense that she's coming from that place and giving us advice to be mindful with that 7, like be strategic about how you're using your feelings.
Right.
And don't just get caught up in them.
And of course, with the swords is paying attention to what's going on in the media and on the news and on papers. And of course, all of our people that we listen to, certain channels, certain YouTube, certain Instagrams, wherever you're getting information, always second guess everything. Yeah. Make sure it really does resonate with you.
Feel in your heart how it is. Just because I said it, Ashley said it, or somebody else said it, doesn't mean it's right for you. You got to feel in your heart what are you creating for your future.
There are so many different people here living so many different lives, and not just one direction is going to work for everybody. So you got to figure it out which one works for you and your life path.
We're getting away from gurus and we're going to self-mastery. Thanks to my mama.
Right? That was kind.
Thank you so much for watching our video. And do like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Just kind of a short one, and then this fellow from Redneck Renegade Radio circulated another more fully sort of in-depth look at this situation that happened to him. And I think it happened last Thursday, but in the last week. Anyway, the story is that, first he talks about his evening and what he was doing and family members he was with and etc. And then him and his son are home. Long story short, and all of these, his son looks out the window, the dog's barking, the son looks out and sees why the dog's barking. And there are several dark tinted window SUVs and official looking vehicles. So I think there were 6 or something, lots of them. And a whole bunch of guys come out and they get in sort of tactical sort of formation. And this guy would know, apparently he's an ex-police officer, I believe. I believe he says that in one of the videos. But anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's been in police force, but he's not in it anymore. So he knows the drill sort of thing, right? So they get in this formation and they're kind of like some guys in suits, some official looking high ranking from the police force is what he says. So it looks like some feds, some secret service people. This is what he ends up saying they were. Feds, secret service people. So that 3-letter of the alphabet, secret service, starts with an F, people, some of those. Anyway, so they come up, he catches them on the lawn and asks them what did they want. He must have been nervous, can you imagine? And he didn't film it though. And he says he left it was kind of they surprised him. So he didn't have time to, he didn't think about grabbing his camera, which is unfortunate. Would have been interesting. But on the other hand, when you hear the whole story, it might not have been appropriate anyway. But, when you first see a whole bunch of those kind of people walking up your lawn, you might want to get your phone handy. Scary, right? Just in case you get carted off, especially in these days. But anyway, so we asked them what did they want. And they say some lame sort of excuse, like in 2002, some complaint was made about them. So they mentioned that first, which I found that to be weird. But they all seemed to be chuckling, he said. So he was like, what do you guys, why would you come and talk about something that happened 20 years ago? That doesn't make sense. A complaint that happened 20 years ago. Anyway, so the more federal officer looking and Secret Service looking guys, a couple of them asked him if they could talk around the corner. Now, this is where I would have ran back in the house, got the pow, got the phone to film them. That would have scared me. But anyway, he goes out and around the corner of the house to talk to these guys, which I found that to be weird. But wow, very brave. That's when I would have expected to get shoved into one of the SUVs. But anyway, trusting him, he went around the corner and, basically they're saying they've been watching him for a really long time. They seem to know everything about him. They know he has a channel and they know the kind of stuff he talks about, right? Truther stuff. They know that. And they're vetting him. because they want him to get involved in some strategic things. Sounds to me like there's way more to that part, but of course, maybe they told him he couldn't tell us that part. Anyway, so he's kind of choppy with his information, and he gets the bright and very brilliant idea to ask them, okay, so tell me this, who's the president of these United States? And he said it in a way that only a truther could answer that a certain way, and then you'd know it was a truther. Otherwise, those guys are probably the bad guys, right? So he said it in a way that wouldn't be the sort of dead corporation of the United States. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, so he asks them, who's the president? And they say Donald Trump. Okay. Then he thinks, okay, I got good guys on my hands. So you've got 3-letter of the alphabet agents on, talking to you about things. You've got Secret Service men. They all showed their badges, apparently. You've got high-ranking local police, but really high-ranking, and agents from, high up in the police force. You got all of these, like, it sounded like there was 12 or maybe even more men. Okay, and a few of them took them around the corner and they brief them. It seemed like the 3-letter of the alphabet people and the Secret Service people took them around the corner. Seems like anybody involved with the high-ranking police stayed behind. Maybe they didn't know as much as those other guys. That's what I gathered from what he was saying. And it sounds to me like they might have had a much longer conversation, but he just tells us a little bit about it. And what he's most excited about is they seem to be gathering. He even saw a list of at least 20 other truthers with channels. Now, this guy's from the U.S., so likely only in the U.S. I'm not sure. I don't think they'll be knocking on my door. And it sounds like basically they're saying things are going to go down. We're going to need your help. Are you in? We wanted to vet you to make sure you were, of sound mind or whatever. And I'm sure a lot more was said, but that's the general gist. So sounds like they're stepping out of the shadows. If what his story's true, sounds like that would be members of the White Hats or people who know about the White Hats, at least. They're stepping out of the shadows and stuff's about to get real in the U.S. This is what you'd gather from what the guy says. And he does mention that he can't tell us a lot of what was spoken about after that, after he asked them about who's the president. Okay, so I want to ask, is he telling a legit story? Is that true? Or did somebody put him up to even saying that story just to spread that? Who were the people that visited his house, really? Okay. Or is he safe? You know what I mean? Because it's an interesting story. Wait till you hear it. And why did they choose this fellow? Okay. So what happened was this guy's been doing sort of Patriot work, truther work, sounds like for years. I went and looked at Redneck Radio channel on YouTube, but I believe he also must have it on other channels like BitChute or Rumble, but I'm not sure. But on his YouTube channel, he has 13.6 thousand subs. So that's all right, but it's not as big as lots of channels. But that could be his 3rd or 4th channel. Who knows, right? Nowadays, they'll take down your channel, you remake it, you got to regain all of those subs. So just based on that, if it was really that he's been there for years and he only has that many subs, that wouldn't make sense that they'd contact him. So I'm guessing he's been taken down and probably fighting the censorship and stuff, right? So we'll leave it at that. But so we'll start with the story itself. We'll start there. Okay, I'm going to say, yeah, he's telling the truth. We've got the King of Swords here. That's truth. They brought truth to his door too. We've got the Lovers. They asked him to be part of something. So something's going to go down and he's going to be in partnership with them. Now, remember a long time ago, we asked about, or we were getting, I think it was on the Jean-Claude, the lives we do. I do with Jean-Claude twice a week. I'm pretty sure we got that things would start to happen where the White Hats would start including truthers. We got that. And this was maybe, I started getting that around Christmas time. We saw it in the future coming. I think we're here. I think we're there, right? Because this is a true story that he tells. And I think there was a lot more said that he couldn't tell us, which could explain why the story sounds kind of weird when you hear him tell it. Okay, when he tells the story, it seems like he's missing chunks. Okay, but it makes sense. If he likely had to sign a, non-disclosure because they would have let him in on a few things. And he does insinuate they did. And that stuff's about to go down, which everybody's saying, okay? And maybe they need some boots to the ground truthers out there to bring this to everybody who's watching people like that. Do you know what I mean? Right? So he said there was he even recognized a couple of names on the list. These guys were going down a list, which is interesting that they'd flash the list to him. I found that likely the story really is that they sat him down and actually explained this stuff to him. I doubt if the story went down exactly like he told it, but he's telling a true story. Let's say the gist of it is true. And they're offering him a part in the movie here, it looks like. The next part of the action part of the movie. Oh, please bring the action. Do you know what I mean? And also they know it's going to get really hard. Things are going to get hard. So we're coming to a conclusion, but things are going to get really hard. So now they need more foot soldiers. They need foot soldiers. And so they go to a truther, a guy who's been, he's got a thing called Redneck Renegade Radio, and he considers himself a patriot. And they probably already really vetted him before they even went to his door. But that's, wow. So he's telling the truth. So now let's look at, but there's way more to the story, which he did say there was things he couldn't tell us. So that's interesting. And that likely explains why the story as he tells it sounds a bit choppy, like wait a minute, we're missing something here. And likely the something we're missing is all the bits that he can't tell us. Okay, to keep him safe, and maybe to keep us safe. Okay, so the second question I want to ask is, who were those people really? Were they actors playing playing 3 letters of the alphabet and Secret Service? Were they real? Were they white hats posing as that? Like, who were they really? Are they those people, and those people are all now part of the white hats? Because it sounded like a lot of agencies involved there, government agencies. And now they're all on the white hat side, or they've always been backing Mr. T. I mean, wow. That says so much right there. It's just fascinating. But let's ask who those guys were. Were they who they said they were? Were they actors playing that? Were they white hats posing as that? Or are they all a mixture of that? Let's have a look. Well, we've got the Page of Pentacles and a big yes card in the middle. Yes in the middle, and secrets around it. So, I mean, we're not going to get exactly who they were because they are involved in secret societies. Good guy secret societies, not bad guys. So at least they were good guys, it looks like, and they weren't bad guys posing as good guys, just saying the right thing. That would be another thing I'd be looking for. Okay, but I'm not really getting it. I get a yes, they were who they said they were. Okay, maybe not every single one of them. I mean, we've got this 5 of Pentacles in the background. The other way I could read that 5 of Pentacles in the background is they couldn't really come out till now. Something's created the atmosphere, something in the world situation or something in the chess moves has created it. So it's time for them to step out. In the past, it wasn't time yet. Too much things, obstacles. And I feel like, yeah, they were who they said they were, but there's a lot of secretiveness around their identities. Well, that makes sense, right? To keep them safe, likely. So we've got the Empress here so they're organizing. Because this isn't talking about, it's not right in the situation line of the cards. Otherwise, I might have said, okay, these guys are from the, that's my deep state card, or can be, but only in certain places where it comes up. Now it's in the line, the below line, and it's around what we call the advice, or a way to look at things, a way to present it, just to sum it up. Okay, so now I'm going to say, so we've got the Empress. So they're starting to call in So they need extra help for the next part of the movie. They need extra help. They're going to call in the truthers. They're going to call in the foot soldiers. They're going to get us involved, you guys. Wow. That is so exciting. Yeah, it's that part of the movie where now they have to organize the troops. We're the people on the ground. Like they're bringing us into the scenario here. And that's what they were doing. Wow. Okay. Wow. Now, the last question I want to ask, why did they choose that guy? And then we'll look at going forward, what can we expect to happen after all of that, right? But this third question I want to ask is, why did they choose that fellow? What was it about him or his channel that they were interested in? They liked his character. They liked that he's a family man. I mean, he does mention his son and his partner. So they like that. They like the fact that, they've looked at his past and found him to be a good, upstanding person. So they don't want somebody who's, connected to the dark cult or anything, obviously, or the deep state or whatever. So they vetted this guy and they find him to be a good person. And here we've got that King of Pentacles here. I don't think he's going to disappoint. I think he's going to do his work. I think he's a generous, good person, and he's going to do his darndest because this is the near future. So he's actually going to really shine in whatever position they put him in. But what they're asking him to do is actually difficult. So that's interesting. So I don't know what they're asking him to do, but it's difficult. And it puts him in a difficult situation, but he looks really like he's willing to do it and happy to do it for humanity. So they see this guy as somebody they can trust and who's going to do what they asked him to do. And they look like they vetted him and they think he can. So it's not saying, is he going to bring things through his channel? I actually think they got a mission for this guy. I think they got some kind of mission for him that maybe it could have something to do with the fact that he does have a little bit of background in law enforcement or whatever. But whatever the job is, it's difficult and they needed a specific person, but they also needed a really good person. Specific skills, but they also needed a good person who wasn't going to let them down, really. Wow. So there you go. Let's do one more on going forward. Will we see more people that have been, are we going to be told about more of these people going to come forward and do videos and say they've been contacted? Is there going to be a big rush of people, having been contacted and letting everybody else know about it? Can we expect a big play here? White hat play? I mean, I watched Linda Paris and her latest McAllister TV. And wow, if she's right, okay, she was saying by the end of this month, everything goes down and what hits the fan. So is that why they're rounding these people up? So first part of the question is, are we going to see more people coming forward that have been sort of asked to be involved? Because it looked like they had a whole list of people. Are we going to hear about that? Or is that going to be kept secret now? And also, are we going to see a big play, white hat play? Because, wow, we've been all holding bated breath for a big play here. So in the coming days and weeks here, between now and the end of March, are we going to see a big play, what are we going to see after this? You know what I mean? So we've got surrender to, she's sovereign, a free and independent person. Okay, so there's going to be a surrender and we become more free from the surrender. Okay, so there's some kind of situation where, I don't know who's surrendering there, but I don't think it's us. So maybe we have a big bad guy surrender. Apparently that happened a while back, but I don't think it really did. And if it did, it didn't happen to the degree we needed it, right? They're still fighting. This does feel like we finally come to a place where we can consider ourselves free and sovereign, where we are not dealing with these dark hat deep staters where they're not pulling moves on us. Okay, so that sounds like that could be like a mass sort of roundup to me, actually. That sounds like some rounding up, maybe even public rounding up with that world card in the middle. Okay, so this is the justice we've been waiting for. The world cards finally comes to fruition. So I think that the big move could be a mass arrest publicly, or some people publicly being arrested. And maybe they need some people boots on the ground to make sure things don't get out of control. Maybe they need some foot soldiers, some people to direct what the truthers need to be doing in the background to keep people safe. I don't know, right? But this is interesting. Yeah, it feels like we become more safe. Also, Mr. T could step out of the shadows here, or we could get a little more clarity on what really happened in November 2020. Okay, and so that truth could come out because here's Mr. T, right out of the shadows there. We're more free. So we aren't in danger of being locked down again at the whim of fake governments and tyrant creeps like that. You know what I mean? Or at least in the U.S., because this feels really U.S. to me. Just the fact that it was U.S. people. I mean, maybe we'll hear about other agents and or other channel truthers around the world getting contacted. I haven't heard anything about that yet, but I'm actually getting. You may not hear too much about it. Some may choose not to tell you just because maybe this guy was brave enough to actually admit he was one of the people contacted. Maybe a lot of people won't tell you they were contacted because I'm not really picking up. We're going to get this mass people divulging that they were contacted. That doesn't look like it's in the cards here, but I do see the move. There's a military move, it looks like, that changes everything. So that's very potential here that's what we're going to see. What this guy didn't tell us was that big move we've been hearing about could actually go down, and a military move where Mr. T gets back in front here, and we get to know that he's been shadow governing, and he's really the prez. Thank you so much for watching my video, and do like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already.